we're going to get rid of the white teachers in the event we need to lay off people.
Okay.
No matter their seniority or expertise.
I didn't know we could do that. I thought that's not good, whether it's black, white, native,
Why
or
do you have a
Asian.
union? Why do you have a union then?
Okay, good point.
An agreement between this is covered on a variety of news sites, in fact, all over the world, what's happening here in Minneapolis. It has not been covered locally. I'm sure this doesn't fit the template of the Star Tribune. An agreement between the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers Union and the school district states that white teachers will be laid off before teachers of color, regardless of their seniority. The agreement, which was reached to end a 2-week teacher strike last spring, says that starting this school year, if accessing a teacher who was a member of a population underrepresented among licensed teachers in the site, the district shall access the next least senior teacher who was not a member of an underrepresented population. Well, as Shakespeare said, they murder to dissect. They're playing with language there that they don't really need to.
Well,
accessing teachers is the process by which a staff are reduced at a particular school due to a drop in enrollment, funding, or other reasons. Why don't you just say cutting teachers or trimming teachers? Why do you have to use accessing?
Yeah.
The agreement
That's carefully thought out, isn't it? But why wouldn't they just use normal terms?
Because they're fancy pants.
Yeah.
The agreement further goes on to say that when reinstating teachers, the district shall prioritize the recall of a teacher who was a member of a population underrepresented among licensed teachers in the district. All right.
Joe?
Yeah.
This is breaking federal law. We've all heard the phrase equal employment opportunity, equal employment employer.
Well, plus,
and it specifically addresses that, and that is against the law.
well, plus, why do you have a union? The union is to protect your rights.
Right.
According to the agreement, the purpose of the policy is to solve past discrimination by the district, which the agreement said disproportionately impacted the hiring of underrepresented teachers in the district as compared to the relevant labor market in the community and resulted in a lack of diversity of teachers. According to the Star Tribune, if it was in the Star Tribune, I didn't see it. According to the Star Tribune, 50 teachers of color will be losing their positions this fall due to cuts tied to enrollment issues. Does that mean that those 50 teachers of color will now not be losing their job?
And why are they getting fired? Why all black people?
Maybe because they're on the they're too new. They're on the what do you call it? Not the priority, but seniority. Thank you, seniority.
Yeah.
In a summary of the agreement, the union says the policies will move the district closer to safe and stable schools. Students need educators who look like them and who they can relate to, the document says. The language gives us the ability to identify and address issues that contribute to disproportionately high turnover of educators of color. Ed Barlow, a band teacher, you can't trust a band teacher. Usually they go nuts. And a member of the Minnesota Federation of Teachers Executive Board told the Star Tribune that the agreement can be a national model for finding ways to retain teachers of color. The agreement states that these policies will no longer be in effect when the diversity of teachers in the district represent that of the community and labor market. To remedy the continuing effects of past discrimination, Minneapolis Public Schools and the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers mutually agree to contract language that aims to support the recruitment and retention of teachers from underrepresented groups as compared to the labor market and to the community served by the school district. A spokesperson for the Minneapolis Public Schools told Fox News Digital. Okay, that was the Fox version of the story. What's this version? This is... I believe this is Alpha News. A Minneapolis Teachers Union contract stipulates that white teachers will be laid off or reassigned before teachers of color. All right.
Well, reassignment
This
isn't
was
that bad,
covered.
is it? Go ahead, John.
It was covered June 4th by the Star Tribune, oddly enough, stating pretty much everything that this story also states.
Why is it
and adding
breaking
the-
now?
Yeah, I don't know. It talks about the new contract makes Minneapolis only one of the school districts in the country with such seniority disrupting language, district and union leaders say, and then repeats it hopes to foster a teaching staff that better mirrors the demographics, what you just said, basically. It's a rather lengthy story, actually. And yeah, it repeats a lot of the same points you make. Perhaps somebody just found out about it and then it spread like wildfire, as they say online.
Okay, who is left behind with such an agreement?
What do you mean?
Well, let me rephrase the question. This kind of agreement does not take what into consideration?
Equality, federal law.
That I'm thinking closer to home. This agreement leaves who out of the equation?
Kids.
Yes. Why would you get rid of a white teacher who is having tremendous success to install a black teacher who might also have tremendous success but is untested in having tremendous success? It's the kids who are going to get the short end of this deal.
Right.
And that routinely happens. We saw it with the teachers' strike this last year.
But these precious people are all Marxists anyway in the union. They don't care.
Right.
Okay, but you are going to get the not tenured, but the seasoned teacher that's just calling it in too. You're going to get old Mrs. Hagaborn that has been there for 30 years and she's cashing a check and not really paying attention. But then that comes into, you want to find that 35-year-old black male that can be a mentor to some of these kids and
So
make
you're
an impact.
you're
in
in
their life.
favor of this
I'm not.
contract.
I'm not in favor of that because I think you should have the best person for the job. But I'm just trying to get into their mind as to what they're thinking.
They don't have minds. The Minneapolis Public Schools have adopted a race-based layoff provision. This is from Intellectual Takeout. A race-based layoff provision. Wouldn't you have a performance-based layoff provision?
You should. You should.
The Minneapolis Public Schools have adopted a race-based layoff provision that violates the Constitution and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. There you go, Kenny.
Well, I was just looking at a piece here. They're quoting a guy named James Dickey, the senior trial counsel for the Upper Midwest Law Center. He says the racial component violates both Minnesota and the United States constitutions for those reasons.
And the Constitution and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. The Minneapolis Teachers Union contract stipulates that white teachers will be laid off or reassigned before educators of color in event Minneapolis Public Schools needs to reduce staff. All right.
Joe, James Dickey calls it what it is, government-sponsored racism.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
One of the proposals dealt with educators of color protections. The agreement states that if a non-white teacher is subject to excess, meaning that word again,
Redundant.
Minneapolis Public Schools must access a white teacher with the next least seniority. Starting with the spring 2023 budget tie-out cycle, if accessing a teacher who is a member of a population underrepresented among licensed teachers, the district shall access the next least senior teacher who is not a member of an underrepresented population, the agreement reads. This violates a well-known Supreme Court decision overturning the race-based layoff of a white teacher and contradicts a well-known federal appeals court decision, which ruled that race-based layoffs of white teachers violates Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. It is illegal under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. When it comes to termination, as opposed to hiring or promotion under an affirmative action plan, an employer cannot racially discriminate even against whites. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in 1996 that a school district cannot consider race even as a tiebreaker in deciding who to lay off, even to promote diversity, because that A, unduly trammels the white teacher's rights. Even affirmative action plans are supposed to be mild and not unduly trammel someone's rights, and getting fired as opposed to being denied a promotion unduly trammels someone's rights. And B, Putting that aside, the school district cannot consider race to promote diversity when Black people are not seriously underrepresented in the workforce as a whole. That ruling was Taxman versus Board of Education of Piscataway. It is also unconstitutional for more complicated reasons under the Supreme Court's decision in Wygrant versus Jackson Board of Education, 1986. In that case, the Supreme Court overturned race-based layoffs by a 5-4 vote. 5 justices said a school district cannot lay off white teachers to remedy societal discrimination against Blacks. 4 of those 5 also said the Constitution forbids laying off people based on race, as opposed to considering race in hiring and promotions, even to remedy a school district's own discrimination. Well, we know who's the president of the teachers union. Look it up, please.
I will.
I think she's the one who said we're here to undo capitalism. And
Yep. I remember that line.
yeah. There were. So what would logically follow is that she is steering a teachers union into uncharted waters in defiance.
Denise Specht.
No,
That's
she's got a very Irish name.
Are we down with the Pew Research Center, Joe?
Yeah.
I looked up, let's see, what did I Google? White versus black, ratio of white versus Black teachers in America. This from the Pew Research. America's public school teachers are far less racially and ethnically diverse than their students. About 8 in 10 U.S. public school teachers, 79%, identified as non-Hispanic white during the 17-18 school year. So fewer than 1 in 10 teachers were either Black, 7%, Hispanic, 9%, or Asian American, 2%.
Greta Callahan.
Greta Callahan.
Greta Callahan. She's admitted her nefarious purposes for being a union head.
She won about 80% of the vote, according to the union's website,
Well,
May 20th.
What am I
2020.
missing? Why would the white members of the union vote for this?
Oh, it's obvious. This is woke culture.
I was just going to say, could you imagine if they didn't? They would be labeled racist.
Well, they are.
Well,
in
they are
fact.
racist no matter
And
which
they've proven
way
it.
they voted. They're
Yeah,
racist.
Color can't figure in at all.
It's not supposed to.
Well, not according to federal law and state law.
And the Constitution and the Supreme Court and
Yes,
the appeals court.
But we only follow the law when it benefits us.
The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission enforces federal laws prohibiting employment discrimination, unfair treatment because of race, color, religion, sex, gender identity, and sexual orientation, national origin, age, disability, or genetic information. And then obviously harassment and denial of reasonable workplace accommodations and retaliation about job discrimination because you're a whistleblower.
How could any concerned parent send their kid to a Minneapolis public school?
I wouldn't.
Because the kids are completely forgotten in this woke virtue signaling. Look at how precious we are.
Mm-hmm.
What about the kid learning math or English? Oh, what about him? They say, what about him? We got to
Oh, just push them through. Push them through. Get them.
And again, let me repeat for all you euphorians who read with your lips moving. I'm not suggesting Black teachers are not capable of bringing out excellence in a student. What I'm suggesting is this creates a situation where an extraordinarily excellent white teacher could lose his or her job for no other reason except your wokeness.
Color of the skin.
Based on the color of your skin. What would MLK say about this?
Content of the
Government.
character, baby.
Would he also say, though, that for the past 50 years, Black teachers haven't been given an equal chance?
But this is not how you remedy that.
No, I agree, but that's the argument they're using, and I'm guessing that's what MLK would say also.
I would think for the last 10 to 20 years, if you were a Black teaching aspirant, you would have been hired in Minneapolis, unless they're completely have lost touch with the reasons they're being woke.
I don't, my son graduated in 18. I don't remember the makeup of his teachers. The students, it was the most racially diverse group of kids I've ever seen. Pretty much all countries and colors and everything was represented there.
Wow. Another twist, huh?
Well,
How can
there's
it be
going to be
legal?
there's going to be a lawsuit here.